guys. Here's my attempt at helping you guys while you're at home training with your puppies. I feel terrible that this has happened, especially to my group of puppy people, because you don't get the socializing, which is always the fun part of having a puppy class. But I'm going to try to at least get you some content. You're more than welcome to send some videos to me of things that you're having success or have questions with. Certain things I'm going to ask that I really would like to see videos on, just so I can know how you're doing and make sure that your technique's okay, or that you're picking out the right things to reward, or what have you. First thing I want to talk about, so it's been a couple weeks since we were together. The first thing that I want to talk about is just the attention, so the eye contact for your puppies. Remember the very first time we were together with the puppies, I talked about bringing your standards down a bit, okay? So we tend to be hard on our puppies. We expect them, we have our eye on the prize. We expect them to be trained dogs that know to watch us and look to us for direction. We need to kind of teach that. So, you've seen my own dogs or me work with mine a bit. Josie is an example. She watches me a lot. She didn't come that way, trust me. I have worked really hard at getting Josie's attention to be directed towards me. Again, now that's kind of her normal, but there can be certain circumstances still that I need to remind her to pay attention to me instead. Anyhow, that's something that's taught. So what I would love is if people could, because typically I would get you to practice it in class, right? If people could send me a video of what it looks like when you practice attention with your puppies. So remember, call their name. Don't repeat their name multiple times. Try to make their name meaningful. We want them to learn that they should look to us within a timely manner in response to their name. If we just continue to say their name over and over again and they're not responding, then they're not going to put together what we want them to associate with their name, all right? So again, you want to call their name, you want to mark with your yes word or your clicker. So you want to mark and reward the moment, okay? So when the eye contact happens, just that little smidgen of eye contact, yes, food reward, okay? So I don't, at this point, even with the younger dogs, I don't get too picky about criteria. We don't start making it harder yet. We really just want to let them know that we like it when they make eye contact with us. Sorry, I thought that was my puppy. He's around here somewhere. And with that, I don't tend to over practice it. Like, I don't want my puppy to get bored of it. I don't spend too long on it, but I practice it everywhere I go with my new puppy. So when Riggs when he was a baby dog, when he was just a little fluff ball, I still do with him, because trust me, like he's come a long way in his foundation and he's got lots of great skills, but I still work him in lots of different environments, and there are certain environments that are too exciting or too stimulating for him, and I don't get the response that I would like. I don't get the response that I would hear in my kitchen or my backyard or places where I work or train him often. So dogs don't generalize well. So because they learn something in one environment, they don't easily translate that or take that to each new environment they go to. So that's why training in lots of different environments, especially early on, and especially with eye contact, is really important. Don't let them get bored of it. It's a very simple exercise, but practice it lots in short little spurts. So what we did not get to cover on our only week we had the puppies together was the restrained recall. Like I said, it's common that I don't get to that on the first night we're together. Usually I would cover it this week. This is the week 3 class. So it's the third week that we've been together, only the second week theoretically with the puppies. So I don't have class dogs to use, and I don't have a helper. So I'm just going to give you my best description of how to do restrained recall on puppies. I'll call Riggs when I'm ready for him. He'll get bored. So the ideal restrained recall is done with 2 people, and both people have food rewards on them. Use a toy if you have a dog that's more toy motivated, but typically in the beginning I use food. So both people have food. Keep your puppy on a leash or long line if you're in an unsafe area or you're convinced they're not going to come to you. you need to control the outcome with a leash. So, okay, so one person is going to hold a puppy, going to be the restrainer, and then the other person is going to approach that puppy and get them really excited about what you have. So show them that you've got some food treats, tease them, get them really worked up and excited about it, and then back away. So let's pretend somebody is restraining a puppy here for me, just so I can kind of do it directly this way. So my puppy's restrained here by someone. I'm going to come up, get them excited. What you got, buddy? Look at that. What is it? But I'm not going to actually give them the treats. And then I'm going to back away. Okay, back away and call my puppy as I'm backing away. Once the puppy gets to me, then I'm going to grab them. So it's a two-handed grab for this. You want to have food rewards in one hand, and you want to have one hand available to actually get their collar. You want to make sure that your puppy gets used to you reaching down and grabbing their collar, catching them. It's no big deal, and that's just par for the course when they do a recall. So you're going to reach down, grab the collar, feed, yes, good puppy. Then the person who called the puppy is going to actually hold them. Okay, so then that person is going to become the restrainer. The person who was originally the restrainer is now going to tease the pup with food rewards and back away and call. Really excited. You can, as the puppy gets good at it, you can increase distance a bit so that they're running further and faster. The idea is that this becomes a game of chase. And I'll talk a little bit about recall in general, and about how it involves them chasing you. But yeah, so same with the attention. I don't like, though this one's a little bit more fun, a little bit more involved for them, I don't want them to get bored of it. So I do it short and sweet, but practice it in tons of locations. So anywhere you want your puppy to come, certainly in your house, in your yard, but like various places you take them, if you go visiting people, if you go to the park, practice it there. But like I said, I cannot stress how important it is to have them on a leash or long line, especially if you're hesitant or questioning whether they'll follow you. You don't want an accident to happen. You don't want your puppy to learn to have fun running away from you. You're not going to catch them. If they're running away from you, you're not going to catch them. So keep them on leash or long line. Honestly, with my Riggs puppy, I was convinced 10 weeks old, 12 weeks old. I got him at 10 weeks. But like as an early puppy, I thought for sure, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to let this puppy off leash. Like in my yard, which is fenced, he had no desire to come towards me. He is a very, very independent, smart dog. See, I don't need you. It's no big deal. Again, I wasn't worried about him getting away from me, or getting like loose out into the neighborhood. But I didn't want him learning that he was in the lead all the time, and learning that he didn't have to follow through if I was calling his name, learning that if I was moving away from him, he didn't have to follow me. I didn't want him to learn that. So I actually, for probably the first month I had that puppy, even though I have a fenced-in yard, I had him outside on a leash. He was on a leash or on a flexi or something, something that gave me say in where he went and when he came to me. And again, I didn't use and don't recommend using your leash as a correction, but it is to help you control the outcome. Because your puppies will learn very quickly that you are not going to catch them. They are more agile. And that word come might mean like, whew, I should run faster, my people chase me. So it's important to kind of understand the picture you're creating for your puppy early on. If they do not have that desire to follow you and they're independent enough that they're out there like, see you later, I'll catch you when it's supper time, have them on leash or long line for sure. So yeah, restrained recall. 2 people, 1 person holds, other person gets them excited, backs away and calls them as they're backing away. Reward, grab puppy, then that person holds and the other person calls them again. So you do that kind of back and forth. I usually like to do it at least a half a dozen, maybe 8 times. Again, short and sweet, and then I move on to something else, but practice in lots of locations. The thing about recall or teaching your dogs to come when called, it's very important, number 1. But it is, in my opinion, something that people don't actually train. People just try to train it in the moment when they need it, like when their dog's running away from them. They put your puppies out in the yard, they're not coming to you, or they're distracted by something, and you start calling them. That's when people take the opportunity to try to train recall. It's not a good idea. It's not going to go well for you, and your puppy's going to learn to ignore you. And what is so important that dogs understand from you early on is that you're going to follow through. So really one of the biggest differences between people who are dog trainers and people who are not, timing and follow through. Okay, so well-timed execution of rewards or guidance or luring or commands or whatever, and dogs understanding that if the outcome didn't go as you as a handler planned, that you're going to follow through with the dog and you're going to try to show them or guide them what you would rather them do instead. So recall is definitely one of those. I find that people, they don't train it, and you only try to train it when you need it, which tends to look like, puppy, come, 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 and you're like running around. Usually I run around the room when I do this, but you're running towards your puppy, perhaps you're calling them, you're chasing them. Everything about moving towards them, especially if you're chasing them, that tells them actually to move further away from you. Yeah, nothing about stationary or forward movement body language is telling your puppy to come to you. What you need to do, even in times of panic, even if it's not in a moment where you're planning to train, but you need your puppy to come to you, move away from your puppy, okay? Some resources and authors that I follow suggest moving away with your feet in the direction you want your dog to go. So if your dog's this way, you want to have your back to your dog as you move away from them. It is just a bit more of a strong signal or message to them that they should follow. And again, not all dogs read that manual. My puppy did not read that manual when he came here. I would go the other way and he'd be like, oh, but I'm okay over here. Like, it's no big deal. I've got all these sticks to play with and there's these other dogs to chase. I don't care. So I very quickly learned with Riggs that, yeah, I need to have him on a leash outside. Otherwise, I'm screaming and chasing him like I tell people not to do. So, yeah. So control the outcome by using your leash and long line. Create a fun history with your puppy chasing you for rewards and play and all that kind of stuff. I'll try to do a bit of a demo with Riggs. Again, it's not going to be the best because I don't have a ton of space here. You can kind of see a little bit. If I manage to get kind of set up in a decent situation outside, I can probably provide a bit more at some point. But Riggs, come here, buddy. I think he's in bed. We had a really long hike today. Right here. Here, buddy. Hi. Hi, how are you? Were you sleeping or visiting in there, huh? All right, so if I was practicing by myself, and this is what I've done almost entirely with this puppy, I don't think Mary and I have ever practiced restrained recall. I always do it with him by myself. So what, he's gonna have a nap now while I finish my explanation. Had a long day. So what I would do and what I do with him a lot is, and I did it with Josie too, so I'm going to sit him, get him excited, and then I'm actually going to kind of push back on him a little bit, push him away from me, and that's going to almost encourage a more forward momentum. So I'm going to push him back and call him, and actually I might do it the other way so you can see me grab him. I don't know, this isn't ideal. And when he catches up to me, I'm going to grab him, reward him, and then maybe set him up and do it again. So I'll just try to make it a bit normal here. Come here, here he is. There's a boy. Nice, good puppy. Sit. I know, you're tired, aren't you? Oops. Here, bud. Okay, come here, bud. Easy, boy. Yeah, all right. So, again, my puppy is super tired. He had a 2-hour hike today and ran with a little dog friend of his really fast. So he's kind of, it's not going to be terribly exuberant or exciting, but just to hopefully give you a bit of the idea. So again, I would maybe work my puppy up a bit, get him really excited, which is not going to happen for this guy right now. And then I'm going to sort of push back. Mine's just going to fall asleep. Come here, come on. I'm going to kind of push back and run off. Ready? Come on, buddy. Come on. Wake up, Papa. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Oh, did I make you bite your tongue? I'm sorry. Ready? Ready? Riggs, Riggs, Riggs. Yes, good boy. So you got to see, again, not a lot of distance there, but I got him excited, pushed him back, took off. When he followed me, I grabbed him and rewarded him. Here, bud. So I'll just try to do it back again. You can still see me a bit. Ready, buddy, ready, ready, ready. Riggs. Yes, woo! So you can see that he basically just ran along with me. I ran into my dining room table. But the idea is that your dog has fun chasing you. You make it a game. Good boy, buddy. Okay, go get that one. You make it a game of chase. Josie said she'd like to demo this as well, but I had to crate her so she could get out of the way. Yeah, so that's what you should be practicing for your recall with your puppies. The next thing I need, and if you could send me a video of that, if you're able to, and again, if you're not, that's fine too, but yeah, see if you can send me, if there's someone in your house that can set up a video, and send me of your restrained recalls, just so I can kind of make sure your technique's okay and all that. So pulling, leash pulling and walking, the foundation for that. This one is, I did a video for my manners class earlier today, tried to demo the loose leash walking. It's certainly not ideal. Again, my dogs are both tired from a hike, and neither of them really pull too much, especially in the house. So again, I may try to do and set up maybe in my yard and do some better like loose leash walking and recall videos, so you can get a little better perspective on that. So yeah, so pulling, it's a problem. It's probably going to be one of your biggest struggles with your dogs, your puppies now, and your dogs kind of long term. Pulling is something that requires, in my opinion, kind of lifelong maintenance. You need to pay attention to that. If you it's a slippery slope, so if you kind of let your criteria slide, you let your dog pull in certain situations or towards certain people, it's going to become a learned thing and may kind of regress your training a bit. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why dogs pull, and then share with you what I think is really a key part of the foundation in teaching good manners, leash manners. So dogs pull primarily for two reasons. Number one, they have opposition reflex. Opposition reflex is a real deal, hardwired behavior or reflex in dogs that tells them when they feel a pressure against them or they feel a force against them, they should resist it in the opposite direction. Excuse me, I'm not sick, allergies. So what happens, and most people can often say that they've kind of experienced this, if you go to move your dog out of the way, if you're, if they're on your spot on the couch and you want to try to move them over to sit, and you go to push them and you feel them like really resist into you, that's opposition reflex. It's a natural instinct that they have to oppose force. So what happens when dogs pull is, if this is their collar and this is their neck in the collar, once the leash becomes tight and there is a force towards the handler, the dog naturally resists it or opposes that force, which creates the pulling. Okay, leash becomes tight, the dog feels pressure towards the handler, nature tells them to opposition reflex, resist that, boom. Okay, so you've got a tight leash, the dog's opposition reflex is kicked in, and the handler, especially with our young puppies, and we're all guilty of it, me too, but with our young puppies, we follow them. So we're building confidence, our puppy's happy, we want them to pee outside, oh, if their leash is tight, I don't care, sometimes I just need to get through this walk, and it's true, all of it, it's very true. I just got through puppyhood, my puppy pulled, of course he did, he's a normal dog. Border Collies are the worst dogs to train to walk on a leash. I don't have my leashes here, but I use a head collar with him. And I don't really tend to talk about that a ton in puppy class. I do it in my older dog class a bit. But there's lots of different devices you can use to help you through the time as you are training dogs to walk nicely on leash. So it doesn't happen overnight. Riggs is 8.5 months old now. I've had him since he was 10 weeks old. He's just now okay. He's not great. Certain circumstances he is great. When I'm one-on-one with him, sure. When I have Josie, sometimes it can be a little bit trickier because he's a little bit less attentive, maybe got a bit more excitement or energy because she's on the walk too. I do walk him a lot on a head halter just to kind of get him where I need him to go, or just to get my walk done. When he was a baby puppy, I used a harness so he didn't choke himself, and a little bit of just his regular buckle collar. But what I'm about to share with you, no matter what you use to help you get through the hard moments or through the walks that just need to get done, trust me, investing in this important piece of foundation for teaching your dog to walk nicely on a leash, it really will change everything. And it's investment in the long haul. It's investment in your savings account with your puppies. Your head collar devices, harnesses, your correcting, your whatever you're doing to try to get your dogs to stop pulling, that's all like credit card stuff. That might get you some quick results for the short term, but your long-term goal for your dog should be to understand what they should do when they feel tension on their leash or when they feel pressure on their leash. You want them to learn to make a decision, not respond to a command or reaction from their handler, but to make an actual decision and have an understanding about when they feel tension on their leash and that's tight. Ooh, they should actually kind of back off that pressure and they should follow the feel of their pressure rather than resist it. Remember, nature tells them to resist that pressure, but we can actually really teach them to follow the feel. Of all the dogs I've had, Josie's number 6 for me, Riggs being number 7. Joe's is by far the best dog I've ever had to walk on leash. And this piece is the only thing that I did differently with her. So I am convinced, and it just makes sense to me, that that is really the missing link that a lot of people do not include in their puppy or in their dog's foundation for teaching walking. Riggs will be a really close second to Joe's, I'm sure. He may be just as good as time goes on, because when I got him as a baby puppy, oh my gosh, he was awful. Like, he was terrible. I was crying on my walks. Like, what is even happening here? Like, remembering what it's like to have a puppy again. And I've got perfect little Jojo. But in the last 6 months that I've had him, 6 or more months, he's really come along. Like, he really has, as much as he's driven, pushy, I got the instructions, I know where to go kind of dog, he really has learned to respect pressure and understand that if that leash is tight, well, I'm not going to barrel along behind him and just let him pull me. I'm going to change direction a bit. I'm going to encourage him to follow my pressure rather than me having to respond to his. I am going to have to run out of this video for a second just to grab my leash and grab a dog and show you a little bit about what I mean. Hang on one sec. Here, buddy. Riggs. Hi, bud. So I just grabbed a couple of leashes here. One of them does have his head halter on it, just to kind of show you what that looks like. And again, I don't tend to talk about that a lot in my puppy class, but I guess maybe because I use one on him, I can. But yeah, this is what a head collar looks like. And I do use it for short term. I don't use it on him all the time. I did for a while, but I've invested a lot of time in his leash training, so he's actually coming along pretty well. But that goes like over his little muzzle and then behind his head. I used this in my Briar dog long term, one of these, because Briar, if you remember, when I talked to him, he was a little bit more reactive. He was a bit more of a handful when it came to exciting situations or reacting to other dogs out of excitement. So that helped me kind of manage his behavior a little better. You're right. Remember. For Riggs, he's not reactive at all, but he's just like going a million miles a minute. Here, buddy. So it's not going to be the greatest demo, and I apologize. I really will try to do something a little bit better outside where I've got a bit more space. Here, buddy. And you can really appreciate a little bit more of what I'm doing. So essentially what we want to, the first step in teaching dogs to follow the feel and follow pressure is to have them pull on a leash, which is going to happen pretty easily for most people and puppies. And instead of prompting them or pop, 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 or whatever you might do, or Tucker, or whatever your dog's name is, instead of calling them or guiding them, we want them to make a choice. We want them to make a choice about how they feel about pressure. So we allow the pressure, we allow that leash to be tight, and then we just wait. You can apply a bit more pressure to them by you can kind of yank back on your, don't like correct them, but you can put kind of a constant pressure back on them until they give in. Or if you're in a situation that your puppy is just fixated on something, a dog, a person, a bird, a squirrel, a leaf, like whatever has their attention, and they don't seem interested in releasing that pressure, I tend to just move away further. So it creates kind of a constant pressure. And then when they give in, I mark and reward. So I'm going to try to do that. Hopefully you can appreciate it. With Riggs here. Come here, buddy. So even to get him up, good boy, he's tired. Even to get him up, I gave him some pressure on his leash. And he didn't, if he was going to resist me, he would have just laid there and not moved. But he followed the feel and he came along with me. So let's see if we can get you to appreciate him pulling. Oh, I might throw a toy and see if he maybe wants to pull. Because he's not going to pull in the house, really. Up, buddy. What's that? What is it? Okay, so he's pulling. He's tight. His leash is tight. Yes, good boy. So I'm not sure if you can really appreciate that really well. I'll try that again. Here, bud. Come here, Papa. So unfortunately, he got to the toy, which was a little bit of a fail. Okay, buddy. Go get it, buddy. Go get it, buddy. Yeah, so you see how he comes right back. Again, he's already had quite a bit of foundation in this, where he comes right back and doesn't continue to put that pressure in on his collar or in the leash. So the other way that I can kind of demo that with him, again, he's sleepy, he may just lay down, but if I'm just standing here with him and if I tighten up his leash, you know, it's dark, it's hard to really appreciate. This light will make a difference or not. Yeah, it's worse. But I've got his leash kind of tight here. And what you're going to want to see is he's going to take a moment, yes, and sort of step back towards me. That's all I'm looking for. It's just that little magic moment where they give in to that pressure rather than resist it. So just kind of try to appreciate. I've got his leash is tight here, and I just wait. He just sat sleepy. So to me, sitting is kind of a passive-aggressive move. It does take a little bit of that tension off the leash, but it's not an actual, like, so now he's going to try to lay down. It's not an actual giving up of that pressure. Hey, bud. No. Come here. Hop up. Come on, hop up. Hop up. Good boy. I know you're tired. I'll bring Josie out here in a second, and you might be able to, yes, appreciate it a little bit more with her. She's a bit more dramatic about it. Wait. Okay. And he sort of gave up his pressure a bit, but not too much. You hear someone in our basement, so he's a bit distracted. A little bit of pressure. He wants to lay down. He can't. Bud. No. Up. Here, buddy. Yes, good boy. So again, it's very subtle, but you can see him kind of move towards me instead. So that's really, I'll bring Joe's out at the end and see if I can do that a bit better. Good boy, buddy. So that's really the beginning. Now, I don't expect you to do that your whole walk. You are still, okay, bud, go get your toy. Go get it. You're still going to have points where your puppy's pulling and you're just going to have to deal with it. Definitely I had to do a lot of that with Riggs as a babe. You know, some of his walks, yeah, there was tension for the majority of the walk, but I had to get through it. He needed his exercise. I had another dog to walk. But take periods during your walk where you change direction. That increases pressure. Don't call them to follow you. Let them figure it out. Let them figure out that you've moved. You've gone the other way, and they need to pay attention. Take moments, not when they're super excited to see someone, but just regular moments where they're pulling for just because. And just stand still and wait for them to release, feed, carry on. All right. We will progress over the next week or two, or the next video or two that I put up, as to how you want to increase your criteria, because you do want to increase your criteria fairly quickly with this, so that they don't learn just to pull, to not pull to get the treat. But it's of utmost importance that they really understand that releasing that pressure gets them a reward and some forward movement from you as a handler. Okay, that is your walking in a nutshell. There is a lot more to it, but that is key. It is the foundation for sure. So your be still. Last time we were together, I shared with you what I consider to be by far the most magical and profound thing I've ever learned about dogs. It has truly changed everything for me, in how I understand dogs, in my ability to connect with my dogs when they're stressed or overexcited or scared, in a calm and really connected way. It's really quite remarkable how well it works, but it's not easy. When I shared with you kind of the trials and tribulations of my newest puppy, Riggs, when I got him as a puppy, I just thought, whoa, I don't know what I'm in for. If Be Still cannot help me, then nothing will help me with him. And so remember what that involves. It involves holding on to your dog, not with force ever, but just a constant pressure, so that they realize that they can't wiggle away from you or squirm away or squeal and make you stop or bite you and make you stop. And they will tantrum about it, certainly. My Riggs puppy, he didn't even give me a calming signal to start. All he did, like, he would actually physically grind his teeth because he was resisting me so much. I'd have to just wait for him to stop grinding his teeth, and then I'd let him go. I had never seen anything like that. I have handled a lot of class dogs to demo this exercise and help people through it. I've never had a puppy that I felt grinding their teeth because they resisted it so much, but my puppy did. And we got through it, and it's been amazing because, like I've said it time and time again to dog trainer friends of mine or vet tech friends of mine, like, if I didn't know that piece of magic for dog training, I would never have survived this border collie puppy. No, he would have been way too much for me. I wouldn't have been able to keep him connected and thoughtful, and it's amazing. Like, anyway, I won't go on, but the agility training that I've done with him so far, and kind of like, again, the future goals I have for him, whoa, he's thoughtful, he's a driven worker with great ethic, and he'll go and go and go and go and go. But if he gets kind of overstimulated or over the top, and he gets to a point where I know that he's in a non-thinking state of mind because he's just too wound up about the game of agility, it takes me no time to bring him down to like a, okay, let's just breathe a bit here and think. And that's what the Be Still exercise does. So just as a review, the times you're going to use that exercise is when your puppy is overexcited, overstimulated, biting too much, overtired, when you're separating puppy play or socialization, when people come into your home, when you come home. There's tons. Anytime your puppy's over the top. That zoomy hour, 8 o'clock witching hour, when puppies go crazy and they tuck their bums and run around the house and grab all your garbage and underwear and run it around. It's a good time. Yeah, it's a good time to do that. But having said that, that's not the only time you should do it early on. You should, again, just like the recall, don't only use it when you need it. That's what I'd still say